What is going on, everybody? Welcome to NBA Live Before Lock, presented by Prize Picks. I'm Eric Lindquist. You can follow me over on X at Eric Lindquist. That is pretty efficient. You have my friend, Matt Bellman, who I actually got to do an MLB show with this previous week out of the middle of nowhere. Very much enjoyed that last second. Might have been some internet issues for our friend Laffy there as the storms were passing through. But regardless, got to see my friend who... you got this beard coming in now, my friend. Matt Bellman at Fantasy Tips at Fantasy Tips Matt over on the X. How you doing, my dude?
I am good. Usually I do not let my beard go this crazy. When I was in Florida doing a show with Josh, someone said, "Josh, I didn't know you're doing a show with Ben Roethlisberger." So at that moment, I knew I needed to shave. But my wife likes it, and I kind of like it. So usually I keep it a lot shorter. I will trim it soon, but you live once, right?
You only live once. That's what I was told, unless, miraculously we get done with this whole life and then we find out we live again, which would be cool. But I don't know how any of that works. I don't think anybody does. So good talk. Glad we had it.
Yes. On that note, I do. I might be the only one, but I appreciate your bit on Twitter. Nobody runs worse on this. And then you find a way to say like the world or the sun in some new way every day. And I look forward to seeing it.
See, it's great. I want to give my friend DK DFS a shout out for two reasons. One, it's kind of a bit that we've done forever. It goes from Discord that we used to do a couple of years ago into basically now on X. That is kind of my inversion of it, where I just talk about the earth and the sun and why we are all here in different ways to really express how nobody runs worse. But secondly, because the under on Matt Corral over on Prize Picks was an absolute slam dunk that he threw out there. They played Martinez almost the entire time that I was watching that football game. And as soon as Corral came in, I believe he had 54 yards passing total. So unbelievable. If you don't follow DK DFS, he does some of the deeper dives over the course of the week here on our channel. Give him a shout out. Give him some love if you tailed that one, because that was a slam dunk. But also, yeah, that's been our bit for a while. I'm glad you enjoy it so much, Matt, because it brings me joy as well to get a little steam out without having to be a full-on psycho. So it kind of keeps me from raging too much.
I respect it, and I do enjoy it. It gives me a little chuckle.
All right. Well, my friend, let's break down some basketball here today, shall we? We've got 9 games on the main DraftKings slate. I'm going to play just all of 10 lineups because, again, I haven't hosted this show in quite some time, but we have a lot of injury news coming down to the end of the season. That shouldn't shock anybody. I mean, Amin Thompson just got ejected, so Showdown's dead to me. That's good times. We don't have to worry about Miami Indy. They're about to tip off here, but we've got 9 games coming up here. We've got tons of Q tags. We've got Joel Embiid resting here on the back-to-back against San Antonio, which, again, I don't understand why they had to go out of their way to go do this and play Embiid against Memphis and do that. And now Philly's just a 4-point favorite with Maxey and Tobias Harris questionable. We've got Giannis Antetokounmpo questionable, Patrick Beverley questionable, Dennis Schroeder, Nicholas Claxton, Wiggins, Kuminga, LeBron James, who's always, could be a rest candidate in any of these spots. They're playing Minnesota here, but Lakers still want to be winning basketball games. I'm going to ask you what I usually get asked myself when I'm in the analyst chair. What piece of injury news coming down the pipeline here today is going to have the biggest impact on your lineups in the NBA DFS streets?
Man, I don't even know if I can pick just one today. All of it? How about you?
All of it sounds about right. Philly is fascinating because we could be losing like an entire basketball team in this spot. Like, I'm looking at some of the potential guys that I would be boosting and also just changing projections on outright. Like, we've seen prices come up on teams like Oklahoma City and Charlotte. Obviously, we can get after them on the defensive side, but they don't exactly play with pace, just a 218.5 total. We have Kobe White and Alex Caruso there, but even still, like Javonte Green, what happened last time out? I mean, you would really need both of them, I think, to go out to really have a ton of interest based on, what his baseline rates would be. And then, we've got just unexpected things that could pop. Anytime Giannis is going to be out, that would be gigantic. But I don't know how you have Tyrese Maxey, who was just out, and Tobias Harris, who was just out, and now Mo Bamba stepping into the center spot, Paul Reed backing him up there. I think you will open up a laundry list of guys to be getting to, because then, it's not just campaign Kelly Oubre, but Buddy Hield, KJ Martin. This is a phenomenal spot with a 225.5 total. I think that one might be first and forefront for me.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. That makes sense. I mean, it's all important, but the Philly news kind of defines the slate. So I'm with you.
Will the rain stop in the Midwest? Hopefully not tonight, because I would like that Chicago and LA game to not finish. I would like it to be done. That would be awesome. Yay, baseball. It's back. Did you play the baseball slate today?
I did. Pitching options were not great for me, so it was a short and not so sweet slate.
Well, let's find a better one here in the NBA streets here, my friend. We'll start at the top of the board here with some of the expensive spend ups. Obviously, Joel Embiid, he played yesterday. So now we're going to sit around and wait what happens here with Tyrese Maxey and some of these other guys. I've got to turn on my alerts just so they pop up directly on my screen. There we are. Now I am all set. But Victor Wembanyama up there pulling 22% ownership at 11K on DraftKings. What a time to be alive. You've got Domantas Sabonis, De'Aaron Fox, a couple of other dudes to maybe have as luxury items, I suppose. De'Aaron Fox starting to pull quite a bit of ownership here at the top of the board. But I think the conversation for me begins like Giannis Antetokounmpo. That's another massive piece of injury news because Damian Lillard becomes electric in the event that you get him off the floor. That's for sure. But kind of wild to see Wemby at 11K pulling the most ownership. That should just tell you about what we have here with the value. But starting on the expensive end, who above 9K do you have your eye on the most?
It might be Wemby. I mean, with guys potentially out in this range, again, we're still waiting on a bunch of news. He looks great in our tools. He's been really good. He is, 20% owned, but that's not worrisome to me. I think he looks like the best spend up option, at least as of right now. I mean, he is every bit worth that 11K price tag at this moment.
Yeah, it's insane. I mean, looking over at the FanDuel slate too for the people playing over there, the man's 11-8 and 33% owned. Isn't that just insane?
Yeah, that's wild.
Blocks worth 3, so you can get
Uh-huh.
30 points right there. That's fun.
Yeah,
Just
I mean,
insane.
it's a crazy price tag, but he certainly can pay it off as he's shown numerous times.
Yeah, he can pay it off. And then on DraftKings, we just have tons of value with potentially even more coming down the pipeline. So when you look at the expensive end, it's really best available, highest projected. We have him for nearly 60 fantasy points, sitting there just around 59. That makes him kind of like can't miss. Plus, we've got point guard Chris Paul sitting there at 5,200 here in this spot, 66% ownership over on DraftKings at the moment. That provides that's a spicy meatball, and well, that's going to kind of reduce some of the ownership or interest I have in point guards, unless we get Giannis out here, in which case I'll turn some of that Wemby into other things. But again, I just wanted to repeat how insane it is that Wembanyama is not even like 21 years old here yet and is averaging just insane fantasy rates. You continue to have a diluted San Antonio team without Chetty Osman, without Jeremy Sohan, without Devin Vassell, without Dominic Barlow and Bassey. Keldon Johnson is available for this one, so 29 minutes of him, 28 minutes of him should be all right, though. But when you're sharing a floor with Trey Jones, Malachi Branham, Julian Champagny, and Sandro Mamukashvili, Victor Wembanyama is going to be just an insane fantasy producer in a spot like this.
He really is. I mean, for comparison's sake, he projects for about 59 fantasy points. Giannis projects for about 55. So 4 more fantasy points for Wemby than Giannis. Tells you all you need to know, really.
Yeah, it's pretty fantastic to be able to get to the top. If you're not going to be going for, well, I mean, obviously you're going to play 1 or 3 lineups. I know in the NBA streets, Bellman playing in the expensive GPPs because he's fancy like that. But if you're not going to be playing Wemby, or if you are going to be playing Wemby and you're looking for somebody else to couple him with, who's your next favorite pay up option, assuming that everybody is in? And then is there a piece of news that might change things where it's like, yes, I want to be jamming X player?
Yeah, I mean, Philly news is going to change everything in that regard. But as of right now, that guy might be De'Aaron Fox. Not crazy expensive, 9,100. Projects for about 50 fantasy points, 25% chance of being optimal, 20% ownership. Yeah, I'm a Fox fan as it is anyways. He looks really good as a spend up to be contrarian piece that the field's getting to, but not enough.
I'm with you. It's just one of those things you look at where, I mean, all these options are just luxury items at the moment, but you get pieces of news to break your way. Yahtzee. I like Demonis Sabonis a little bit, sitting at 10-2 there. So that'll be an enjoyable experience. But Wembanyama, I'm with you from what you had said previously, too. That's going to still be the priority for me up top. And then we'll kind of make our way down the line here, talk about some of the values, the GPP plays, and, of course, the fades. But I've written this on the run sheet the same way Josh Engelman has. And as such, I'm kind of trolling myself by starting this up here. We got producer Mike Lawrence there behind the screen. We'll pop into the 3-man. Hello. To say wave to the people, Mr. Mike Lawrence. Great to have you along here. But you know what time it is. It is the segment that I hate, where we identify a player who just roll the tape that people know what we're talking about.
I do not have the exotic.
You don't have it?
I only have the nuke of the
Doesn't
night.
have it. You're on mute too, but it's fine. Yeah, cool. Well, we don't have to do this segment then. We can completely negate that one. Unless you have somebody in mind that you would be calling the... I can't even say it. I can't even say it. It's so wrong. Matt Bellamy, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I'm
trying to find the person. White skin player of the day. What an interesting way of putting it. How is it not Josh Giddey?
Yeah, it's got to be Giddey. I mean,
7,400, taking on Charlotte. Tons of usage, tons of opportunity. Great fantasy point per minute player. No SGA still matters. 35 minutes for him in a competitive spot against Indy last time. That's really the first time that we saw like an uber competitive spot against Philly. I guess it was interesting enough where he didn't really do anything, and that was the weirdest game script ever. But Josh Giddey, your you know what of the night.
Yeah, it was light skinned play of the night. That's what it was.
Yes,
Anthony Gill could work. I mean,
oh no,
yeah, he could.
In what world does he fit the criteria?
I mean, just I'll let it speak for himself.
Have you watched them play? No. Josh Giddey for the record. Yes, it sure is. Thank you, everybody in chat, for doing a phenomenal job of trolling me, even when I'm hosting the show, and it is what
Josh Giddey is white. That doesn't mean you have to be white to be light skinned. That's all I'll say.
Judges? Okay, we'll allow it. We'll allow it. The exotic judge. Oh my good God. What is that? What am I watching play out on the screen right now? I feel like I'm in some crazy, creepy movie that I don't want to be in. Anyway, if you go over to Odd Shopper, one of the plays that is popping at the top of the board there in terms of OS rating is a player who fits this criteria, Dante DiVincenzo, but it is shorting him in 18.5 points. Again, check out Odd Shopper for all of your betting needs. Great opportunity to jump in there right now as baseball is getting going, as we're getting acclimated with the tools there. And then, of course, in the NBA streets, this thing has been profitable all the live long day. We have it back tested. We have it fully operational. You can check it out, including for the Prize Pick streets, which we'll talk about a little bit later with the Prize Picks Optimizer. You can utilize that for some really good opportunities to make money in the betting streets in conjunction with what you're doing here in the DFS streets. Odd Shopper, a great companion, if you will, for all of your DFS action. Check it out, again, for the Prize Pick streets, the underdog streets, lots of great opportunities in terms of pick 'em, but also, again, for the sports books, for the people in the legal betting states. Congratulations. You have an absolute gold mine in front of you there with Odd Shopper. Again, it's back tested for profitability. It has an opportunity to make you money starting right now in the MLB season, starting right now as we work into the NBA playoffs. So check it out. That is for sure, my friends. But we will jump over here to some of the value that we have existing on this slate, because I think Chris Paul is kind of a great starting point, but there's a lot of dudes sitting in like the 4K range, whether it's Yurt 7, assuming that he starts because, he stepped into that starting role, and I wasn't exactly sure how much leash he was going to get there. 21 minutes, still enough for him to do decently well, but it was a blowout script. He had played 30 in the game previous to it, and kind of a weird script there for that one too. But Omer Yurtseven pulling a ton of ownership for us, just playing 24 minutes. We have him in for 24 minutes there. Who on the value end of things are you looking at the most today?
It's a good question. Again, hate to sound like a broken record, but that does depend on, what happens later with this slate. As of right now, it might be Anthony Gill, 3,600, projects for 25.5 fantasy points. Ownership right in line with his optimal percentage. I mean, the Wizards are close to Memphis territory, decimated. They're already awful to begin with. So Gill is not usually a good fantasy producer, but it's end of season NBA. So Anthony Gill's my guy.
Giannis Antetokounmpo will play basketball here on Sunday. That is a big piece of news to get. They've lost now, 3 straight times as double-digit favorites outright? That's tough to do. Patrick Beverley is ruled out. That's not going to change a whole hell of a lot for me. So there is that. But yeah, working down the rest of the board, I mean, Campaign in the Membrane is, definitely somebody who I'm going to be playing regardless of how the news pans out. He's 4,600 going up against San Antonio, and assuming he starts, which I have no reason to believe that he won't start, I would want tons of him. But again, Philadelphia is kind of the team that on this slate, we could just be jamming ad nauseum. You're going to have some Josh Giddey. I think you're going to have some Isaiah Joe and Lou Dort. I think they're going to fit in just nicely in lineups, but we already have a ton of value. And so getting up to those top projected guys and Victor Wembanyama, now Giannis in, that is definitely somebody that I want to be getting over the field at. We have him in for 2% ownership. That is going to come up as we get that news. But will it come up enough, as much as it should here between now and the lock of that game? It's still an hour plus to go. We shall see. We shall see. But raw points, they are at a premium here. We would like to get to all of them possible because we're definitely going to have value, potentially more on the way with that. But is there anybody outside of the Philly spot that you're kind of interested in, or that maybe you're just a little bit lighter on than the field on this value end of things?
Well, just as far as Giannis goes, I don't think he's really a good play no matter what. I get there's a lot of value, but Wemby, we talked about, just looks significantly better.
Yeah.
You can't play everyone. I think AD looks better. Sabonis looks better. Maybe this changes. Maybe our tools are somehow have the questionable tag, in his projection right now. I don't think so, though. So I don't think he's going to look great, except from a raw points perspective, as you're mentioning. From a value perspective, guys that I, think are getting too much love. Yeah. Campaign, 4,600, projected to be 30% owned, only 13% chance of being optimal. He's probably the one guy I'd name there. Yurt 7, you could also put in there. He projects well for 4,600, but the reason I wouldn't have any problems getting away from him is just because of the center position.
That's fair. I mean, center is going to have Wemby. It's going to have Tristan Vukcevic. You're
Right.
going to have power forward center Anthony Gill that can eat up that spot, who has the lowest bust percentage on the entire slate in the boom bust tool, which is pretty wild when you think about it. But
right off, as you mentioned, right off the bat, Vukcevic, Yurt 7, Wemby, you can't play all three of them. That's not even talking about anyone else, Sabonis, etc. So any one of the, none of those guys are absolute musts because they're all there. And I don't think any of them look significantly better than the others considering their prices.
Malakar, no AD on FanDuel. Yeah, so I was looking at the FanDuel slate. I just kind of assumed, because they've had a lot of times where they'll keep the late night game in. So when we were talking about the injuries on the front end of the show, I was assuming FanDuel was in there. No, FanDuel does not have that evening hammer on the slate. So we don't even have to think about or worry about that one at all for our purposes today. But yeah, if you had LeBron out, that would be really nifty, and he'll probably be infinity % owned in the showdown slate. But looking at the DraftKings slate specifically, and the FanDuel slate in this case, it's just irrelevant to be worried about that game. But Anthony Gill, wild to see that kind of ownership, or sorry, the bust percentage that exists there for him specifically. And now we got Keldon Johnson in, which doesn't sound like a piece of news, but hit the nuke of the night. Do you have that graphic ready to rock, Mr. Mike Lawrence? You do? Fire it up, blow off my dick, do all the things.
3, 2.
Maybe.
There we go.
Oh, there it plays. I'm slapping a rocket with a hat and living my life at my place of work.
And
Nuke
we
of the
are
night, my friends. Hello. I don't see how it isn't Keldon Johnson, because when you look at the boom bust tool and you look at an opportunity to get this kind of positive leverage on somebody, you just take it. Now, 28, 29 minutes might be where he's topped off at, but we've already talked about how much interest we have in this Philadelphia news. We already have a great piece of value, assuming that he is in the starting lineup, which again, I have no reason to think that he wouldn't be. I just like getting to this game environment way over the field right now, having it built in before we get to lock at 6 p.m. Eastern time, and being able to have the maneuverability at 7 p.m. Eastern time, knowing that Keldon Johnson, 28, 29, 30 minutes, something in that ballpark for him, and Wembanyama getting all the attention as he should be, but Keldon Johnson in is a big deal to me, and positive leverage, nearly 24% chance to be optimal, only 14% ownership, the most positively leveraged play on the slate, and gives you some maneuverability to the Buddy Hields, the KJ Martin, some of these other pieces we may have a ton of, because don't forget, Covington's been out forever, Joel Embiid out, Kyle Lowry out, DeAnthony Melton out for a couple more games as well. We could be talking about Jeff Downton so quickly on this slate. It's absurd. So just have a plan in place here for Philly. But along with it, San Antonio on the other side. Love Wemby, but Keldon Johnson, your nuke of the night. Matt Bellman, who do you want to be getting to relative to the field the most on this slate? Who is your nuke of the night?
So I already talked about De'Aaron Fox, and I like him a lot. But I'm going to pivot to another Kentucky guard for my nuke of the night. Give me Devin Booker. 9,300 against the Pels. You've said it a couple times already. Raw points matter tonight. So on a lot of slates, there's a good amount of competition around Booker's price tag. We don't have that really tonight. I know it's not the greatest matchup against the Pelicans, but both these teams need wins. So I expect good efforts from both sides. Booker's been very good recently. And most importantly, 10% chance of being optimal, 5% ownership. Give me D-Book as my nuke of the night.
Love it. That is the good stuff, friends. That is the good stuff. Again, raw points, getting to some of these spend ups with this crazy amount of value. And not that this 7K isn't littered with it, but Jordan Poole, massive negative leverage. Josh Giddey, a little bit of negative leverage going his direction. You got Draymond Green there. I don't even think we've gotten, if I had to do another nuke of the night, I think Denny Avdia would have been the guy here earlier. He's got pretty flat leverage. I mean, it's like slight negative leverage there, 1.2%, but 24%, 24% ownership, basically 23% chance of being optimal. He's projected for north of 42 here at 7,600. No Kyle Kuzma on the floor. Lots of reasons to get to him at a small forward position that, you know, has routinely been one of the weaker ones that exists here on DraftKings.com, and pretty easy to land into him on lineups, unless, of course, we have Miles Bridges, who I think is decent piece to be getting to on this slate. But like Denny Avdia looks phenomenal to me today against Toronto.
He really does. I mean, the tools are really, really high on Avdia, and I get it. I mean, his price is up, but so is his projection. Washington looks good here, so I think you need some Wizards exposure no matter what.
All righty, Claxton out. This sucks. This is a piece of news that I just didn't want on this slate, because there's a lot of ways that they can really go at the center spot for the backup here. Once upon a time, we would have just been jamming Day'Ron Sharpe, but I don't think it's that easy to do anymore. Day'Ron Sharpe had kind of like fallen by the wayside, but Day'Ron Sharpe is 3,200, and I don't see how he, assuming he starts, isn't the best piece of value on the slate, but he's only played 12 and 10 minutes. They could go to Trendon Watford and just play and start him. Noah Clowney, I suppose, can also be eating up a gob of minutes, but we just got a ton of value in that Brooklyn-Sacramento game by one piece falling. I just don't know who it's going to be yet. Is there somebody from Brooklyn that looks more appealing to you with Nick Claxton out?
I mean, it is probably Day'Ron Sharpe, but I'm with you. Like, you can't feel as comfortable with it as you might have like a couple months ago. I want to see our tools update. I mean, Day'Ron Sharpe is already looking pretty good anyways. He's 3,200, was projecting for about 20 fantasy points. Was Claxton doubtful?
Claxton was questionable.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, we have him in, and I mean, as of right now, obviously they haven't updated yet, and Sharpe still projects good. So I think you could throw Sharpe into that like Vukcevic, Yurt 7 bucket I think the other guys look safer, but they're not 3,200. So we might not need that tonight, but it puts him in play no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, you had Cameron Johnson out, Dorian Finney-Smith, he played yesterday. I'm still mad at him. He's out. There was already going to be a case to be made to get to those guys. And now, again, this is one where I was just hoping Claxton was going to play and I didn't have to deal with it. I think this is really messy. I do think Anthony Gill is probably going to see his ownership come down at power forward center as a result of this news. So maybe Anthony Gill, we get at a discount here, but I know we're going to want to get to something there. I'm just worried that they really dilute the minutes, but I don't think it matters. We have to have a ton of interest in this spot now.
No doubt about it.
I think Clowney ends up being the guy. I think Jalen Wilson has a good chance to start. Also, it jumped into playback here. Let me send this over to you, Matt Bellman.
I got it.
But I just jumped in there. You got it? Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Can you throw that into
Mike.
chat for Mike Lawrence? Thank you. Throw that into chat for the people who are watching over at home there. Playback. We're a fully operational Death Star, but I think it ends up being Noah Clowney. I think Trendon Watford's got to play a ton. And now, dare I say it, Lonnie Walker's kind of in play for me today.
Oof, I thought you swore him off.
I did. So I don't have a banned list, but if I did, fucking Lonnie Walker would be on it. And now I'm playing him.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think he's a bad play now. The tools might say I'm not rating him high enough. I just struggle on a slate like this where we've got potentially so many spots that I want to settle on Lonnie Walker. But I'm sure he's shooting guard, small forward eligible, and cheap, like always.
Oh, God. This is just really messy. I think the quiet piece of news that came out at the same time is Dennis Smith Jr. doubtful, because that was somebody that I think was going to maybe eat some minutes. I mean, we're going to see Dennis Schroeder, Cam Thomas, Mikal Bridges. I think it's going to end up being Jalen Wilson, Noah Clowney. I think those are going to be the next two. And I want to give Jalen Wilson some more minutes because I think he's good, but like he's not a good fantasy producer. That's where Lonnie Walker has the utility to me, and maybe taking some shots on him is the way to go. We had him in for 12 minutes. Yeah, that's going to have to change here with Dennis Smith Jr. too. Doubtful. All right, I'm going to let that update here. Do you want to talk? God, what do we even want to get to? Do you have any other thoughts here on the Brooklyn side of things?
No, I like the Clowney shout out and the Jalen Wilson shout. Yeah, Brooklyn is ugly, but now one of the most appealing teams on the slate.
Late season NBA is just wild. Nolan Gorman home run. That actually helps me. That puts happiness in my heart. Kobe White listed available to play. Kobe White playing. Let's get the Caruso news. He is out. All right. So we're just going to make our way from piece of value to piece of value here, leading up to lock, to give you guys the analysis that not only you want, but that you deserve, friends. Alex Caruso out. We saw just an absolute eruption out of, I will say, eruption out of the middle of nowhere from Javonte Green. Did you watch that 33 minutes against the Knicks? I didn't see that coming. 25 and 13 here. Are we running Javonte Green back at 4,100?
Oh, I mean, yeah, but I don't feel good about it.
I just put him in for 30 minutes right out the get-go.
He's like not a good
They've been playing
producer either.
I know. It's so annoying. Again, another spot where I was just kind of hoping everybody was going to come in and just dilute the minutes and we didn't have to think about it too much. But alas, we can't have nice things, Matt Bellman. But also, it makes our show really easy because now we get to just break down another situation. But you go to that New York-Chicago game. In Chicago, for those who are paying attention at home, the playoff probabilities that we have over on dunks and threes for them, they are pretty darn locked in to the 9 seed, 91.5% chance of getting it. But I think until it gets official, we'll see them play it out. And then we'll be talking about Chicago a lot for like ancillary pieces, I think, in the next couple of games. Because once they lock up this 9 seed, if they win here or one of the next ones, and Atlanta becomes the foregone conclusion for the 10 seed, both of those teams are going to rest guys or just play very limited minutes with these starters. But we did, in fact, get White, Dosunmu, Green, DeRozan, Vooch. And I have a tough time putting Javonte Green for less than 30 minutes.
Man, that Javonte Green 50 ball is just I don't
Random
even know.
AF.
It's doing something to my head. Like that just it's not computing.
We have Torrey Craig, who 7 minutes, 8 minutes that we had. Are you kidding me? Anthony Gill's out.
You know it's late season NBA when we get Anthony Gill out actually mattering. That's
What are we doing? What are we doing here? Gill
I don't even
out.
see that one yet.
Anthony Gill, he's listed out. I just saw it from the beat writer, and then it just got posted to you know where. Okay. Well, Anthony Gill listed out Sunday. This is a cluster. Eugenia Marui is the first guy who goes into my head, but usually that's wishful thinking. Hang on. Let me pull this up. Anthony Gill. Son of a biscuit, man. I gotta redo all these minutes for all these spots. Why am I even playing 10 lineups here right now? Tristan Vukcevic lock. I don't think so. So we have Patrick Baldwin there. We have Jared Butler there. I don't think this changes Vukcevic's minutes all that much. What I think it does is, do we have the confirmed? We have Jordan Poole, Johnny Davis, Corey Kispert, Denny Avdia, and Vucevic. I don't think this does a lot for me. I think it just becomes maybe I should give a minute or two to Vukcevic and make him like 27, 28, and maybe that does change something for him. But like, I think this just becomes a little bit of a split between Butler, Omarui, and Baldwin. They're all active.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it like changes a ton. Like Vukcevic already looked good. So yeah, maybe he looks slightly better, but he already looked really good. So
yep.
I don't think you need to do much there. Man, guys like Omiuri, PBJ. It's ugly, but I don't hate it. I mean,
I think I prefer the Brooklyn pieces. Like, I think when we're talking about it, and also, shit, Javonte Green is showing up for me right from the get-go, and I don't like it.
I mean, compared to the other guys that are in play, like all of a sudden Javonte Green doesn't look so bad. It's one of those type of slates where the names are ugly, but they just project so well because the guy's being out.
I'm going to let our stuff update a little bit here, and then I'll be able to give you guys a little bit more updated information, because rather than talk about what I think happens with Washington, I do think it gets pretty diluted. I don't want to go crazy with them. I'm much more interested in Brooklyn because they have to play some of these cheapies, and they're very, very cheap. Denny Avdia already looked good, but Anthony Gill was going to be a piece of value that I got to on this slate. He will not be a piece of value for me anymore, but you know what? It's good. I don't even have a segue. Do you have anything else you want to talk about with Washington? Because I don't.
No, I don't. Yeah, no, I don't.
Prize Picks. Hey, Prize Picks, everybody. Check out the fantasy scores that we have for a couple of these guys right now. I was kind of doing a little bit of a scan, a little bit of a comparison, if you will, back and forth with what we had in terms of FanDuel projections, because that, friends, is going to be applicable to the fantasy scores that we have over on Prize Picks. And you go back and forth. I do a short every single Monday through Friday covering Prize Picks. You guys can check that out over at Lindy's Locks or over on the Odd Shopper channel that you have, Odd Shopper YouTube channel. The shorts get uploaded there, as well as over on X at Odd Shopper there. But basically taking a little stroll through the fantasy scoreboard, there is a ton, and I do mean a ton of value that exists. There's also some perspective value you could be firing up, like Austin Reeves, Anthony Davis, D'Angelo Russell, and you could hope LeBron ends up getting rested or something ends up happening in that Minnesota spot. You also have tons and tons of pieces of value. Kobe White and DeMar DeRozan both look a little bit too low for me, even against Orlando. Again, Javonte Green, I have no idea how I'm going to go about doing this here, because it's about as ugly of a spot as you could run into, and I'm going to be playing him a little bit. But this fantasy scoreboard, day in, day out over on Prize Picks, is amazing. If you go side by side with our projections, you have an opportunity to make yourselves lots of money over there by finding some very undervalued pieces. There's some prospective news you can be reacting to by putting up to 6 players into a card and winning 25x your money. They also have these demon things, which again, they don't have the best payouts at times, but again, for the prize pick streets, the main thing you want to be paying attention to is playing 5 or 6 pick cards, because they are going to give you the best ROI. They're going to flat out lower the barrier of entry. At a sports book, might be minus 135, minus 140, that these plays have to fit that criteria to grade out as positive EV. Only about minus 118, minus 117 over at the prize pick street. So if you have prize picks available to you and you're looking to get into sports betting, 1, check out Odd Shopper in conjunction with it. 2, if you already have our projections, utilize them in the fantasy score street. And 3, sign up at the link down below. Get yourself over to Prize Picks now and sign up, because there's a lot of money that is left on the table here. If you're playing DFS, this makes a great component to it. Check it out, prizepicks.com. You know them, you love them. Sign up today. All right, I'm clicking refresh here. I haven't even been remotely able to utilize the Sims here yet, because we have so much news updating, and we're still waiting on other things to come. We got the Thunder starting lineup: Giddey, Wallace, Dort, Wiggins, Holmgren, same as what it was last time out, so that's at least useful, and we don't have to think too much about that one. Looking at things, again, the Anthony Gill deal, I don't think is going to change anything other than just remove Anthony Gill from my lineups, and now it's going to be some of these other guys that we're going to be getting to, but want everything to update on our end. Tyrese Maxey and Tobias Harris remain questionable on Sunday. That is very important, so be reacting to that. But anything else with the news or things that are happening with your lineups? Because the thing that just happened is I just started jamming Day'Ron Sharpe, it would appear.
Yeah, still waiting for our tools to update, but I imagine Day'Ron Sharpe is not going to all of a sudden look great. You know, other than that, Wemby, Chris Paul, who we haven't talked about, already looks amazing, and I'm sure that's going to continue. So, yeah, just waiting for the tools to update.
Yep, same here. There was a ton of news waiting on the table. Things are going here. Let me see our last projections update. Oh, I want to be getting ourselves to a little bit of this goodness. That is for sure. 45 minutes ago, last update. All right. So I'm going to hit them up and get a ping here. So we can kind of get things rolling with some updated information for the people. Again, the Philly stuff is going to be gigantic. Let me jump in here. Actually, can you, Mike Lawrence, just ping the team here to make sure that we got something going here with the projections and get the people something updated for now. Again, Keldon Johnson going to be somebody that, now that he's officially in, talked about him as the nuke of the night. Might have to be falling by the wayside a little bit, as Ford is going to be eaten up by Brooklyn pieces, it would appear to me. That is going to be a really fun run out. But anything else you wanted to talk about with Washington? There was nothing really to mine out there from me, actually. Anything else you wanted to talk about Brooklyn? Any value you're getting to in your one lineup?
Yeah, I mean, all those guys look good. It's definitely like pick your flavor of the night type of slate where there's a lot of good plays, and in any one lineup, you're just not going to be able to play close to all of them. So I like your Keldon Johnson shout. He's cheap, especially if you're not playing Wemby. Now, again, him being cheap might not matter as much on this slate because raw points are just going to mean so much. Yeah, Sabonis, like, looking better just because the spend up options. You know, I obviously said AD earlier. He's not on this slate. So take him out of the mix. I mentioned Devin Booker. The raw points, as we've said now a few times, matters a ton on a slate like this. You're going to need to hit it all.
Yeah, we really are here. I'm trying to get things updated on my side so that we can get into the weeds a little bit more. I want to get into the weeds a little bit more on some of this. I'm going to push it on my end and see what I can do. There we go. Projections update 1 minute ago. Ask and you shall receive. It's beautiful stuff, my friends. So now we're going to jump over. Again, he was in the lineup generator. Make sure you refresh the lineup generator, friends, so that you can get away from the Anthony Gills and the things that were potentially showing up for you there before. I'm going to pull up the premium Discord here as well and answer any questions that exist there in the NBA DFS tab. Again, one of the reasons that you guys want to be showing up here and getting yourselves Greg Ehrenberg jumping in there. Updated now. Thank you, Gregory.
So here's my question for you. And I see the tools have updated. So we got Day'Ron Sharp as the #1 player in the tools, the
Sure.
boom bust tool. Vukcevic also moved up. Between those two guys and Wemby, which one would you leave out of one lineup?
It's a great question.
Thank you.
Probably Vukcevic, because he falls in that mid-range. I think Day'Ron Sharp can be turned into anybody. And also Day'Ron Sharp has to play today. I would be completely floored, shocked, appalled if somehow, some way, we didn't get Day'Ron Sharp on the floor. And if he plays 15, 20 minutes, the guy can go for 30, 35 pretty darn quickly. I don't think it would be Vucevic, even though I mean, they obviously all look amazing. But if I'm building one lineup, I'm taking the raw points with Wemby and I'm taking the piece of value in Sharp. And Sharp can turn into other things later. It gives me a little bit more swappability. If I make my bed with Vucevic right now, I'm just going to have a lot of wisdom. Like, I really like Denny Avdia today. I think that's going to be somebody I make a pretty large stand with. I don't really think Vucevic has to play 30 or 35 minutes. Like, there's just no way. I think Jared Butler's going to play enough. I think Patrick Baldwin, Justin Champagny, Omar Rui, I think they're going to all play just enough to make it annoying there. Not saying he can't slam in 28 minutes or 27 minutes like we have him projected for, but I'm at least a little bit more cautious there. There's 8 dudes I think that are going to be active for Brooklyn tonight. 8. I think you just want to play that spot over what you want to be doing and locking up value earlier.
I agree. I think that Sharp is the lock. I do think that on a lot of slates, I'd be okay with playing Sharp and Vukcevic together. Just not sure where you're spending up then, because I think my 2 favorite spend up options are Wemby and Sabonis. And obviously you're not playing either of them in that case. You're playing Fox and you're playing a couple other studs of your choice. But then it's like, I like Fox a lot, but Chris Paul is also a point guard. So
yeah,
I'm with you. I think Vukcevic is the odd man out. That said, if his ownership starts falling, then I like him, a lot then. So just definitely a slate where it's like, again, there's really, really good plays like all over. And they might not have the best names, but because of the price tags and the spots they're in, I think you're going to need a lot of points to take down a tournament tonight.
Somebody's saying Noah Clowney, the better play. I mean, shit, we just put Noah Clowney in for 31 minutes. I got to think I'm going to be getting 10.9 fantasy point per minute producer. I think Noah Clowney is going to definitely be somebody that I get to a little bit more. Jalen Wilson, I assume he starts 3,200. I'm going to get to him too. But Day'Ron Sharp at 3,200, still the center that I think I want to get to over Vucevic there early. I think that's kind of the skinny of it. Cam Thomas, we haven't even brought him up necessarily, but like there's so many of these 7K, 8K players. I'm assuming that, in your one lineup, there's a couple of them showing up. Who are you rostering tonight in that like 6, 7K range? Because again, we have so many options to parse through.
Cam Thomas might be the best one.
Yeah, I think so too.
Doing everything for this Brooklyn team right now. Price is fine. I like Chet a lot, but it's just a center problem. So
yeah,
really hard to put him into play. Going back to the value real quick, Oma Yuri is popping now. So do with that what you will.
My God.
And I don't know about Clowney. I think Clowney's definitely in play, but more if you're playing like a bunch of lineups. I know you're playing 10, you said.
Yeah, I might add a couple more here now because I think there might be a little bit of an edge to just waiting on the news. Everything's filled, of course it is.
Do you think he might start over Sharp?
Yeah, I don't think Sharp starts for what it's worth. I don't think they're going to start Sharp. If they do, I will have 100% Sharp no matter what, and it'll be fine. But like, I go back and forth. I think it goes Wilson Watford, but Day'Ron Sharp starting would be awesome and just solidify those minutes in a way where you would just want 100% of him. Like if you knew $3,200 Day'Ron Sharp was starting, you would have 100% of him today, no matter what other pieces existed.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, if he's not, and clearly he might not be, I don't think it's wrong to say he's the odd man out of that center group. Like, he's still a really strong play, but when you're talking about a slate where price tags don't matter as much as they might on a lot of other slates, like, I think there's something to be said for taking that 1,200, going with the safety of Vukcevic, and moving on with your day. I don't think you have to do that. I think Sharp clearly has upside and he's a lot cheaper, but it puts Vukcevic back in the strong mix for me over Sharp if he's not starting.
Oh, reset it. 4x still there. I think we got him out, didn't we? Do we still have Gil popping? Yep, still project for ownership in The Sims 2. So here's what you're going to do in The Sims if it's not going to be updated there. You got to go into the data hub. So jump into the data hub and just remove the projection. You got to just get rid of the projection for Anthony Gill there. I'm running the pre-contest sim. Let me double check and see. I don't think he's in there anymore. At least that's what it looked like to me last time. Let me double check. Washington, Anthony Gill. Yeah, he's got a 0 next to him now, people. So if you refresh The Sims, you should be able to get a fresh run here. I'm going to do it one more time just in case. I'm going to jump in and I'm going to generate more lineups and we will be able to get this party started. But if you're in playback right now, the party has already started because Mr. Mike Lawrence, he has fired up the Sims for the people. So you can see over on playback right now, if you want to just drop that link into chat one more time, Mike, that would be awesome. Fired up there. Some of the higher simulated ROIs that I've seen in a while on an NBA slate. NBA, we generally see some of the higher simulated ROIs, but see a lineup north of 500%. Friends, that is nifty. This is a good opportunity to make some money. I know it is very, very difficult, but we've got the ownership coming in right now here too, which takes a little bit of time here after the projections get updated. Just had a fresh run of that here as well. But let's talk about Philly. I think this is going to be a good, productive use of our time. We already agree that Cameron Payne is going to be an amazing play if he ends up starting, which we would assume. What else would we be looking at getting to if Maxey and Harris are out? Because I feel like this is going to be the spot that you just want to get to as much Kelly Oubre, as much Buddy Hield, and even like KJ Martin at 3,500 as you possibly could. Nicholas Batum is back and projected for more minutes, but like 3,500 KJ Martin I could get down with too.
Yeah, I guess I could too if everyone's out. I think it's the guys you mentioned, though, Kelly Oubre. Buddy Hield, I go back and forth with him because on one hand, I think he's going to look really good on paper. But on the other, there's so many good plays on this slate. Do I need to suffer through another night of Buddy Hield? Maybe, maybe not. Philly's going to look really good. Hard for me to pinpoint it right now just because I'm not sure exactly who's in, who's out, etc. But yeah, I think we're going to want Philly exposure no matter what.
Per Coach Rivers, Giannis Antetokounmpo likely to have his minutes monitored for rest of regular season. Straight from the news, got himself. That seems not ideal. Probably a spot where we want to be treading lightly now. I mean, what does minutes monitored look like? Not play 32, not play 30. If you look at the playoff picture for them, they have things to play for. Milwaukee, 53.4% chance to get to the 2 seed. But anything that isn't the 2 seed puts them on the road in the next round if, you know, it's the 1 or 2 seed that they'll be facing, which you would assume to be Boston and or Cleveland, New York. Milwaukee has a lot to play for coming down to the end of the season. So a couple of early losses here. Those do look pretty bad in hindsight. Still, if his minutes are monitored, 30 probably would put him out of the realm of like somebody I'd want to be getting too crazy amounts of here on this slate. I don't know how to read that news because Doc Rivers / Glenn Rivers is a damn dirty liar, but anything to mine out of that because, I mean, he's got no ownership as it is. I was going to play him for the raw points, but probably not anymore.
Is Philly or is Milwaukee trying to duck Philly in the first round?
That's a great question. That might be exactly what's happening. Glenn Rivers doesn't want that smoke is what we kind of are seeing. But like, I think Philly is stuck in the play-in game in a majority of scenarios now. 54% chance to get the 8 seed, 26% chance to get the 7 seed. They have less than a 21% chance of getting any seed that is outside of the play-in tournament.
Yeah. I guess, yeah, well, that makes sense. Although they're a game behind of Indiana. So half game behind Indy, a game behind Indiana. So yeah, Philly
Anyway.
certainly needs tonight. I mean, I don't know. Just a theory that Milwaukee could be ducking that smoke. As far as Giannis goes tonight, I mean, I already thought he was a pretty poor play. Not playable now. Probably won't be playable much for the rest of the year.
I might be correct. That might have to be correct. Smash the like button, everybody, because again, Chris Williams asked for it, and Chris Williams deserves that. I think also Matt Bellman and I parsing through this slate, which is a pretty wild one, trying to give you updated information, trying to get you all of the goods. Again, ownership and projections are updated here on the site. I'm going to give it a nice run through here. We're going to talk about some of the results of that, and we're going to get ourselves into a little bit more nuanced stuff about how we can go about late swapping on this slate, because I think there's going to be a nice little edge to it here with Philadelphia news. I think just getting to a lot of Brooklyn makes sense, and then just turning a lot of that into some of those pieces. But that's just me. Dennis Schroeder, I just saw news for him. Won't have a minutes limit. All right, good. Look at this, because Mr. Ollie, he just wants that job really, really badly. I don't think he should get it. This has been ridiculous. But anyhow, that's a conversation for a different day. I'm running the Sims here. You guys are smashing the like button as I read off Chris Williams, $5 super chat. Unless you're trying to pick yourself some R. Kelly karma, hit the like button. Takes not even 1 second, and great show, guys. We appreciate you, Chris, one of the guys who's just been here all the live long day doing an awesome job. I've got to do Ace of Spade. We got to do DK Tears for my dude. And Dan Cochran, $5. Appreciate you guys. Dan 06712. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, everybody here. Tim Bourne, we'll do fave plays to round it out, because again, I wanted everything to update before we went into that super chat. But Ace of Spades, I'm going to pull up DK Tiers here quick and give you the lowdown on what we have for highest projected for you. I think everything is updated, ready to rock. Pulling that up here. I'm simulating the rest of my lineups. Lot to do, Matt Bellman. Lot to do today.
Yep. I feel like that's just a typical Sunday, though, right?
Yeah, something like that here. MLB doubling with the NBA. They both had infinity games going today. Of course they did. Victor Wembanyama for tier number 1. Giannis with that minutes limit going to come down a little bit for me ever so slightly. Devin Booker, tier 2. I think that was somebody that you called your nuke of the night. We're going to definitely go with that. Ever so slightly over Jalen Brunson. De'Aaron Fox there by quite a bit in tier 3. Tyrese Maxey looks okay, but still a distant. That's a weird tier 3 to be looking at. Tier 4, Paolo Banchero. Tier 5, Denny Avdia and Jordan Poole, both looking excellent there. Get yourself some Washington of the spend ups, if you will. I feel pretty uncomfortable about the value there. And then Josh Giddey, Chet Holmgren, 1-2 punch there in tier 6. I slightly prefer Josh Giddey here. Taking a look at the premium Discord, doesn't look like we have any questions here. Looks like we do have all the things ready to rock here with the Sims. I am pulling up my top simulated ROI lineups here. Omar Rui is popping up quite a bit. That's an uncomfortable feeling. That is for sure. That is for sure. I'm going to be giving him a little bit of a downgrade purely because I like that Brooklyn spot to be getting to so much. But if you roll with some Omar Rui, we know how good of a fantasy point per minute producer he is. I don't have a ton of quabble about that. I just like getting to Wemby at the center spot. I like getting to Day'Ron Sharpe at the center spot. And power forward, we've got a million different dudes who can kind of fit the bill, whether it's Miles Bridges, whether it's Trendon Watford, somebody that I like getting to, Zion Williamson, who I don't even think we've said his name on this show yet, which is kind of wild.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking about a guy like Keldon Johnson. Like, guys like that, I'm not even sure they're in play anymore because very stars and scrubsy type builds now.
Javonte Green only showed up in 10% of lineups in the Sims for me out of my top 20. Again, just going to trim this down to the 10 that we have here. But any Javonte Green love, it feels chasey, but also the minutes should be there. There should be an opportunity even against Orlando, which we know how good defensively they are, 210 total. 4,100 with the amount of usage that we just saw from him is something that again, 21% usage was very, very efficient. I'm not saying go out of your way to go jam him or anything at 4,100. We kind of missed the boat. He was 3K flat, very different now, but like still kind of like Javonte Green more than is projected. Is he somebody you have at all?
No, but I get it. Like, it does feel chasey, but you're not playing him because of the fantasy points he put up last game. You're playing him because of the usage, and he's still cheap. He's not cheap enough for me. That said, it doesn't really matter like that he's 4,100 as opposed to like 3,100 today because there's so much cheap value all over the slate. I wouldn't fault anyone, you included, for having him more than the field. Just not a guy that I'm really high on. I do like the Brooklyn pieces significantly more. Yeah, and I like a guy like he projects the exact same as Omayuri, and he's $1,000 more. I think he's safer, but that's about it. And Omayuri, the power forward eligibility obviously really, really helps him. Green has it too, but I'm just saying instead of only center for him.
I'm going to give a little bit of a boost to Cameron Payne here too. Somebody fallen a little bit below the cracks for me here. I'm going to upload these lineups so that they are officially in here for the people. And then we're going to go position by position and talk about our favorite guys to get to round out the program here. If people are building out their lineups last second, they can kind of hear what our analysis is there. But let's start at point guard, my friend. Your favorite point guard on this slate is?
Chris Paul.
It is Cameron Payne for me. At shooting guard.
Giddy.
Cameron Thomas for me. It would appear. Small forward.
Avdia.
Denny Avdia. Same one there. Power forward.
I'm going to go Omayuri.
I am going to go Jalen Wilson, which again is kind of a piece that can turn into something else. And
Sure.
the most ridiculous position of all time, the all-powerful center.
You know, there's just so much value on this slate. I'm going to go Wemby because it's so easy to fit him.
I like the Wemby call. I'll take the chalk. I'll go the Day'Ron Sharp. Day'Ron Sharp. Boy, there's going to be news. Give the people a little bit of a lowdown. Is there anything you're planning in your lineup to try to fire up Philadelphia later? Because I just am playing a ton of Brooklyn over expectation, and I'm planning on turning that into them later.
I think that's the way to do it. Like, play a lot of the Brooklyn pieces because they already look really good. They might look better than Philly no matter what, but you have the ability to get to the Philly guys if you do that. So I think that's a really, really good way to play this slate.
Yep, I'm going to just embrace the living hell out of that one. The Chris Paul one. We have Golden State coming up a little bit later, but we have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games locking here right now. I'm going to jump in playback for a little bit here and just kind of let things update, let things ruminate a little bit. So if you guys want to jump into playback, can you fire that into chat one more time for the people here? Mike Lawrence, I just want to kick it. Matt Bellman, if he wants to kick it for a little bit here too, I would love to have him here. And we can kind of leisurely break down some stuff as it's rolling on in. I know we're going to get Philadelphia news. I'm not leaving my computer until we get that here, even just playing a limited amount of lineups. So we're going to fire that up here. But Matt, crazy little show that flew because in an hour, just nonstop news. Welcome to late season NBA, or actually we've been here for a while. Any final words for the people as we get out of here?
No, just fun show. The Cavs did in fact blow a 20-point halftime lead to the Clippers to lose this game. So there's that. I am very, very down on the Cavs for the playoffs, but that's not because of today.
That is not ideal. Well, good thing they got out of the first round. Oh, no, they didn't get out of the first round last year. That's right.
No, they did not.
Yay, Cavs. I was kind of making a joke there. It wasn't funny. Normally, kind of that's how I roll. Hit that like button as you get out of here. Thank you to Mike Lawrence. And also, go follow Mr. Yocastic, or sorry, Awesome Yo, he is over on X. Follow Matt Bellman at Fantasy Tips Matt yonder way. I'm Eric Lindquist. Follow me at Eric Lindquist. See you guys all in playback.